This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. Mahalo. And by Atlas Insurance Agency, Hawaii's largest professional agency, helping Hawaii navigate insurance solutions since 1929. More at atlasinsurance.com.
Aloha mai kako. Welcome to a new episode of What School You Went? Start every conversation with that question. I'm Ron Mizutani. And today we're going to be talking story with an Emmy Award Winning filmmaker from Maui, born in Germany. It's fascinating story of his life. He is a storyteller with a very unique approach to storytelling. I welcome, and I'm very happy to welcome, Stephan Boeker of Pacific Storytellers. Stephan. We're going to be true to our German heritage.
All right,
you
well,
and I.
let's
It's
do it.
Stephan.
Stephan, yeah.
And it's not really Boeker. It's what?
Boeker.
Boeker. Right. Well, before we go any further, I want to dive into that part of your world. As I ask all of our guests, what school you went?
Wow. Are we talking grade
High
school, middle school, high school? Well, in my case, all three, I went to one school from first grade all the way through 13th grade. I know your listeners might be like, what? 13th grade? You were held back or what? But the German school system actually has 13 grades, right? And then university is truncated. So it's not necessarily a 4-year university. It can be 3, right? So they tack on an extra year in the gymnasium or the high school time. So I went to a little school in White Plains, New York called Die Deutsche Schule New York, German School, New York. And that's the school I went.
So did you have a mascot? I'm like, you know how, Lahaina Luna Lunas or no mascot?
No mascot. Mascot.
I sense you're trying to get out of something because I ask everybody to sing their alma mater.
Okay.
Did you have an alma mater?
No, there was nothing like that at this school. No school song, no mascot. I don't know. I don't. Maybe that's not a thing for Germans. I have no idea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, we'll give you a break on that one. I was going to ask you to sing the German national anthem, but we'll save that for another podcast. I'm looking through your bio, Stephan, and it's just an amazing story that came to, I won't say fruition, because you recently came back from the Emmys and captured this amazing award that is so prestigious and really very competitive. Take us back a little bit, because you were born in Germany and raised, though, in New York. Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, so my mother's Austrian and my father's German. And when I was born, the family lived in Frankfurt, Germany. And my father had an opportunity to work outside of Germany. He's in the banking world, so small German bank. Well, they happened to open up an affiliate in New York City. And my parents, having sort of this penchant or itch for getting outside of their usual environs where they grew up, they said, why not? Why not jump on this opportunity? Let's go. So packed up my brother and I, packed everything up, sold the house in this little cow town near Frankfurt, Germany, and moved to the New York metro area. So my father was working in the city, and we sort of settled down just across the New York border in Connecticut. And it was supposed to be only 4 years, right? A 4-year contract. But my parents sort of fell in love with the space, it didn't feel so small town. There was space. There was, I don't know really what it was for them, but it really resonated. And so 4 years turned into 8 years, turned into a green card. And all the while I was going to that German school in New York, just possibly we'd be going back and I'd keep up with the language. And it's an official, there's 2 German foreign schools in the USA. One is in New York, the other one's in Washington, D.C. And so, I just happened to stay throughout that entire time, kept up with the language, kept up with the culture, maybe go back to Europe to study in university. But as it was, I was able to get into a decent college in New York City. That's where I went then, right before coming to Maui in 2000.
Wow. You know, you talk about going to a German school in New York. I have an old-time buddy of mine, Kyle Funasaki. I'm going to throw his name out there. But he lived in Germany and went to an American school in Germany, but, you know, speaks fluent German. So did you learn English here?
Yes. So I was 3 when we moved.
Okay.
So that's why your listeners probably can't detect an accent. There might be something people have a hard time placing. Like, where are you really from? West Coast, East Coast, not sure. You know, some of the inflections are just not normal.
And your pidgin's pretty good too.
Oh, did I bust that out?
You busted it out earlier.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I just picked it up. Now, I'm not a linguistic genius at all. Like, German, English, okay, I could throw in a little pidgin. But I studied French in this German school from 7th grade onwards. But I never lived in a place that spoke, where people spoke French or speak French. And so, you don't use it, you'll lose it.
You lose it, yeah. Parlez-vous français?
Ah oui, un petit peu.
Un peu.
Oui.
I know just a few words. Je t'aime, you know?
Oh, wow.
Okay,
All right.
yeah. That's about it.
See,
There's a couple of other things that maybe Shaka Khan sang, but that's inappropriate for this audience. If you know Shaka Khan's song,
sure.
you know about it. Why Maui? What say you that you said, hey, I'm going to move to Maui?
Yeah. Well, in 1999, it was right before the senior year of college. I linked up with an old high school friend of mine at the German school. He went back to Vienna to study at the University of Vienna, studying medicine. And he says, hey, and I'd been going to Europe during my summers during college, and we traveled around Europe, backpacking with a guitar, taking the train and whatever. And he said, hey, this year my uncle is taking a group from the University of Vienna, and we're going to the South Pacific. We're going to go Oahu. We're going to go Fiji. We're going to go New Zealand, Vanuatu, Tahiti, and Cook Islands. And we're going to do sort of this educational thing all throughout. You want to come? I said,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd never been to this part of the world. And all I remember is when we landed here on Oahu for the first time, you get out of the airport, first thing you smell is, besides the air, the kerosene exhaust, but you smell the plumeria, and then you get into the car and it happened to be a Hawaiian station. And I was hearing this music, and my senses were just absolutely, it was like I was in a trance. And then we moved on to the South Pacific, and I just remember feeling like this is a completely different world, a different universe. When you're in and around the United States, it has such an intense gravitational pull. Like, it seems like so much of the world revolves around what happens in the U.S., and if you're in the New York metro area, even
Absolutely.
more so.
Yeah.
I mean, New Yorkers, think that's the end all be all. You're
Right.
a New Yorker, you're it, right? And so a whole new world was opened up to me, and it had such a lasting impression, so much so that senior year of college, when you got to think about, well, what are you going to do? Some friends, they were going, they're going to go investment banking on Wall Street. The others are going to law school, med school, serious things. And I was just thinking, okay, New York has been a wonderful, wonderful place for me, in college, but there's got to be something else for me. And I just harkened back to that summer of 1999 in the South Pacific on Oahu, and I said, how close can I get to there while still being able to work and put a roof over my head,
Make a living.
Yeah, exactly, make a living. And another little sidebar is I learned to windsurf when I was 12 on the Long Island Sound. And windsurfing was one of these things that was an avenue of freedom for me because, when you're a teenager or a young teen, you got all kinds of challenges, social circles. I remember in, 6th, 7th grade, my best friends, we were on some school trip, and we were on the bus. I was on the bus. My friends weren't there. And they finally came in, and I said, where were you guys? Turns out that they were smoking cigarettes behind like a dumpster. And I remember feeling so disappointed about that. But, these sorts of issues and windsurfing, being out there on the ocean, holding a sail, moving where you want to go. It was such an impactful thing in my life. So those two things, the love of this area of the world, windsurfing, and this sort of innate desire to shed the security blankets that I had grown up with. A family, all my friends were there, and I thought the same thing I felt when I was in the South Pacific, being opened up to a new world. I wanted that. Mm-hmm. And so Maui offers, the
windsurfing capital of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's it. One-way ticket to Maui, and again, I got out of that plane, and the smell, the perfume of plumeria bowled me over, and there was no doubt in my heart that I made the right call when I was deciding what to do in that senior year of college.
That's amazing. What a great story. Because, New Yorkers, they'll tell you, there's two people in this world, New Yorkers, and then there's people who want to be New Yorkers. So, of course, my Puerto Rican friend says the same thing. There's two people in this world, Puerto Ricans and people who want to be Puerto Rican. So you can fill in that blank anytime you want. So you go to Maui, you become you find to make a living. You become a wedding photographer. What was it that you said, hey, I can do this? What did you do?
Well, I thought I went to this college. I got an education. I got to do something quote unquote serious. I mean, Maui style serious, not Wall Street, New York City serious. So I thought, well, what's the thing here? And first thing you see is obviously the hospitality industry. So I applied at various resorts. Happened to get a job at Four Seasons Resort Maui as a busboy, and then I became a waiter, and then I was really lobbying to becoming a manager. And somebody took a chance on me and said, "Hey, let's." So I became a manager at a really prestigious, wonderful resort, and they really were sort of an ohana for me that took me in and made me feel welcome. And made the landing softer, right? So I'm forever grateful and indebted to everyone there for helping me bridge that being flung into a new world. And I felt like, gosh, there's something creative out there for me. So that's when I just started dabbling in wedding photography. Some wedding planner took a chance on me there, but I have to honestly say I didn't know what I was doing. I just bought. At that time, it was the Canon D60 or 60D. It was sort of the first decent digital camera. I got some L glass off of eBay, the 70 to 200 and the 24 to 70. I thought, hey, I got it covered, right? And here I am tasked with, capturing
someone's moment.
Yes, their moment. And I'm so green. And, and speaking of green, I think I had the camera on green mode, the idiot mode. And oh my gosh. And it was underexposed, this, that, and the other. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Not a good start.
Yeah, not a good start. But, you fake it till you make it. And it's not like, nobody died and there were no ramifications. These were budget weddings, right? So you can't expect too much when you're only paying a couple $100.
Right, you get what you pay for.
Exactly, and they got it. Exactly, they got it.
But your reputation quickly changed. I mean, from what I understand, you were the guy that folks eventually would say, "Hey, no, we want Stephan to shoot our wedding," and it became more than just photography, did it not?
Yeah. So I got a call from somebody who said, "Hey, and it was actually somebody from Oahu, and he said." Hey, you wanna explore webcasting weddings? It's a webcasting wedding. This was 2005. The bandwidth on the internet was horrendous. But we started looking at it. How do we do it direct, like where literally people would tap into the firewire, stream from your camera through the firewire on the laptop, and there were only so many connections that could let in, right? And I discovered, oh my gosh, there's something called a streaming server, a QuickTime server. Maybe that's more industrial. Maybe we'll try that. So the first time I ever did that, it was on Keavakapu Beach in Kihei, and the guy who started Blue Blockers, you know those sunglasses. Well, somehow I was introduced to him, and he allowed me to string an Ethernet cable from his, whatever it was, Roadrunner modem back then, like 200-foot Ethernet cable down to the beach. I had my laptop set up. And and a car battery to make sure the light. It was crazy. So we streamed our first wedding that way, and then slowly but surely, couples would ask, "Hey, can you make us a little video too?" Yeah. So that's how it started. Really small, really organic, and you just learn by doing. And luckily, I got over my failings as a wedding photographer, and things just started working from there. In 2009, the Canon 5D Mark II came out, which was sort of the revolutionary thing that enabled us to make the image look more cinematic. So now you didn't have to pay hundreds of $1,000s for a cinema camera, but you got it in this small package. So that's where the interest started coming in, where we could do something more than just your basic beach wedding. You could actually make art. Right, and make it look good and make people go, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just about art for you. I mean, part of capturing an image, like they say, a picture is worth whatever, 1,000 words, 1,000,000 words. It's part of storytelling, right? Yeah. And that skill set is not everybody have. So you were able to somehow tell a story by capturing someone's moment, a day, special day. But that skill set, you probably went, aha, I'm actually pretty good at this. How did you go from that to filmmaker?
Yeah. Well, see, the challenge with weddings, as much as I tried, I thought, you know what? Maybe couples would want something more than just us showing up with a camera, shooting their day, their event, with the Hawaiʻi backdrop, the Mai Tais, the hula dancers, the that you just capture everything and then make something up in post. I thought there's got to be something else we can do, where we can, massage or perhaps create the story and beforehand. So we started interviewing the couples. We tried every which way, tried to market it, for some reason. Well, the reason is couples come to a destination wedding really because it's a magical place, and that's what they want to capture. They want to capture their days. So that storytelling with the things like protagonist and what goes into a protagonist and story structure and things like that, it just wasn't working in weddings. So I think it was around 2014, 2015, I caught wind of some production company out of Portland, and they were teaching storytelling. I thought this was right around the time where online learning came up. I thought, why don't I do this? And this is where I learned the very basics of storytelling, people being one of the most important pillars, right? If you don't have an interesting person to work with strong desire, with, tons of motivation and who's unique, the audience won't connect, and it'll just go in one ear out the other, and it'll be ignored. What's the purpose of a story, right? Are we trying to say something a little more deeply? The sense of place. How does a sense of place support the person and the story? And then, of course, story structure. So, anyways, I learned all these things, got really interested in it, and just started telling little stories. I joined this little film school, also from that production company, and we were tasked with creating a short film. And we settled on a story of a 94-year-old granny in Okinawa who her husband had died, Her son had died. She's now in her 90s. Most people would pack up and say, hey, I've lived a long life. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Something stopped her. She happened to find this choral singing group, and she slowly but surely became the lead of this singing group. And they actually became celebrities in Japan, and they also toured internationally. So this was the first time I really was introduced to such a dynamic person, not even speaking the same language. And I was hooked from then on because, you can go into a place and somebody who doesn't even speak English, I don't speak Japanese, but yet they open up to you nonetheless, and they allow you into their world, and together you can create something that can move an audience.
Yeah, you need that character. You need that person who's going to make people care or connect. As you were describing that, Stephan, I was thinking about. So I spent 33 years in the news business, I was a reporter anchor. But at the end, as my career started to develop and I became more of a storyteller, I would define myself as a storyteller because people are allowing me in their space, right? And that's not that's a skill in itself, trust and all that thing, rapport and all that stuff that you build. But I also went to a few, because you never can stop learning. I went to a storytelling workshop where there was all of these hotshot reporter teams with cameramen. It was in Kentucky, in Lexington. And I was like 20 years into my career. I thought I got this. I got there and I realized, oh my God, there's a whole different world of storytellers out there. One of the things that I did learn, though, was about picking the right character. Mm-hmm. So like I came home and I applied the things that I learned in Lexington. There was this for those on Oahu who know this, there's a Pensacola, you turn off Pensacola and, Pi'ikoi to turn left to get on the freeway. People block this intersection all the time. And they just, because they want to get on the freeway, they sit on the red light and there's all kinds of horns blasting. I wanted to do a story on that, right? Because whatever HPD was doing, it just wasn't working. But I didn't want to do a story on people just tooting their horns. I needed a character, right, to tell the story. So I took the things that I learned. I went and knocked on every door of this building that sat right next to it and found my character, right? This young gal who was a server, she was a waitress, who hated it. Oh, my God, they have these horns. She was perfect, right? And we tell this story about this intersection. And it not for the accolades, but it was such a compelling human interest. I can relate to that story that we actually won an award for. But it was done with purpose.
Yes.
So when you talk about purpose, you're looking for that purpose. You found that that moved you to do things differently, and I bet that must have been so darn exciting when you had that aha moment. This is pretty cool, and I can make a difference with a message.
Exactly. Yes. It's not just showing up, shooting the SHIT out of everything, and then kind of coming up with something in post.
Sorry, I had to spell that out in my head. I got you.
I know this is a PG
We're good.
program.
We're good.
So, oh my gosh, yes. So that I'm always thinking, I'm always asking myself, well, look, I mean, if I'm lucky, I may have 80. If I'm like the Okinawan granny, maybe 90 years. Maybe if the Okinawans can last a lot longer than that. But we're only here for a short time.
Yeah.
What can I do with this time? Is it to do something that might create more problems, more suffering in this world? Or do I choose a project? Do I choose a story with heart, with some kind of morals, some kind of moral underpinning that, for lack of a better word, is good, is perhaps true? Then that's perhaps where I ought to be going, And so these days, when people approach me and ask me, "Hey, can you do a film for us?" I really need to understand. Well, what do you guys do? Why do you do what you do? And what do you want out of this? What does success look like for you at the end of this project? And, there's certain industries, certain brands, certain businesses that, contribute to ills in this world. I don't need to call anybody out, but we know.
Yeah.
So, purpose. Yeah.
So you see here's the deal. You come upon this family business, the Kuhn family, and this is Trilogy, right? And anybody could have approached it very differently, where this becomes an advertising, vessel, if you will, no pun intended. But yet you saw the value in the story behind this family, the man, what he gave up, turned that into an award-winning film.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How did that unfold for you?
Yeah, one of the Kuhn family members, she's a makeup artist and so much more, but also a friend, and she said, "Can we do lunch sometime?" So we went to lunch in Paia, and she had mentioned, "Look, it's Trilogy's 50th anniversary year coming up next year, and we want to do something that." I don't know if commemorates is the word, but something that captures our origin story, and I can't think of a better person to sort of spearhead this than you. So would you meet with the board, with the owners, and pitch an idea to them? So I did, and I showed them a short story we did. For a nonprofit in upcountry Maui called Hui no Eau. It's sort of this arts center where they do art programs and have facilities where the community can come and do pottery and painting and all these wonderful things. But it was a story about somebody who works with kids at Hui no Eau. So there were kids involved. There was conflict involved. There was an initiation to what do we do to address that conflict, and the journey points, resolution, and a wind down, right? And I showed this to the owners and the board at this pitch meeting. They said, "We want that. We want that." And so I know that these are people with principles, that they don't just go out. And back then, I don't know to what extent this still happens, but you go beyond the shores. I don't know whether it's 3 miles. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at a certain point, you can dump your
3 miles.
3 miles. So you can just dump your sewage, right? And there were no pumping facilities in the harbors and things like that. And these people, the Kuhn family, they were always looking, how can we do things better? This doesn't feel right. This doesn't look right. It doesn't smell right. So what can we do? And so they're pioneers in the field. And knowing Mei Li, I thought, well, this feels so right, and let's explore. Let's explore the characters. What are their stories from Randy and Jim to the kids? And I just interviewed them all, and slowly you start to see what the story universe is, and you start to make connections, and now this story can come to life, not in post, but in pre-production, in story finding. Now we can go out and tell this story.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful story. And you traveled to Northern California recently, and when they called your name at the 53rd Annual Northern California Area Emmy Awards, wow, look at you. For those in podcast land, there's the Emmy. That must have been such an incredible moment for you. I'm sure you just went back in your Rolodex of all the stops that you made to get to this point. Wow, I'm getting chicken skin thinking about it. I don't even know what you were feeling, but what were you feeling that day?
Well, it's an interesting journey. So May 6th of 2023, Trilogy had their 50th anniversary gala at the Old Lahaina Luau facility there. Wonderful, wonderful place right on the ocean there in Lahaina. And about 500 people in attendance. and they showed the film. So and that was really what we did it for, right? I knew that was our audience, and they were floored. They loved it so much, and people came up to me afterwards. You gotta submit this to film festivals. You gotta. The film festival. People have gotta see this. You did this family so much justice in Maui, so much justice, and yada yada yada. So I thought, okay, wow, I'm feeling buoyant. I'm feeling good. So I submit this thing to every film festival under the sun. And right off the bat, we won a short film, best shorts film, something out of L.A. And then Maui Film Festival said yes. I thought, oh my gosh, first two right off the bat, we're good to go. And then one after the other. Sorry, not selected, not selected, not selected, not selected. I mean, completely humbled. And I asked some film friends of mine, well, it is in that 30-minute zone. It's not a short. It's not a feature. For the shorts, they want to pack in 5 to 10 minutes. They want to pack in as many as you. So I thought, okay, we're not total losers. I guess there might just be these needs that film festivals have for whatever reason we didn't hit. So I thought, after this string of losses, I said, why not try a Hail Mary? I'll just submit it to the Northern California region Emmys. This was in, I believe, January of this year, 2024.
Because Hawaii is part of the Northern Cal region.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, $175. $175 for a probable, no again. Is that like I already spent like $1,500 on a bunch of rejections? Do I really want to? But I did it anyway. Thought one last Hail Mary. And I didn't hear anything for months. Yeah. Nothing. And I had totally forgotten about it. I was on a shoot, and during the break, I scanned my emails. Oh, congratulations, you've been nominated. I couldn't believe it. All right, well, that's cool. So what does this mean? Oh, you can go to the event, and wow. Okay, I'll do this. I asked my wife, hey, there's this thing. It's an Emmy. What's it? My wife doesn't know much about it. She's an Emmy Award. What is this? Well, it's an awards ceremony. We've been nominated. You want to come with me? She said, okay, but like Emmy, is this like a national thing? I said, well, it's not a national Emmy, but it's Northern California region. She's like, so my wife, she's an Olympic skier, right? So in Japan. And so she's like, so it's like not even like national team kind of thing.
You're like JV.
Yeah,
but you're
I'm
not.
like, oh my gosh, come on. But she said, okay, I wanted to go somewhere with you this summer. Let's go, right?
Awesome.
So we came there completely humble, but the week before, I had trouble sleeping. I said, well, what if in the off chance they call me up there, and what am I gonna say? So a couple of sleepless nights, I'll wake up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and I can't sleep. Gosh, I got to figure out what I'm going to say. So I go in the kitchen, make some tea, put the honey in the tea, and I start looking on YouTube. Best Oscar speeches of all time. And I'm looking at Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep, and I'm listening to them. And I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, but they're only going to give you 20 seconds. There's no way. I mean, they're giving Dustin Hoffman 3, 4, 5 minutes,
Sure.
of course, because it's Dustin Hoffman. You're nobody. So I had to start thinking, okay, well, now I really got to sit down and what's important to me? So I asked myself, well, who am I acknowledging? You want to acknowledge the room. You want to acknowledge, the creatives who worked on it. You want to acknowledge the Kuhn family, and you want to acknowledge Hawaii, right? I mean, this place has shaped so much of who I've become. You got to do that. Anyways, we go to the Emmys, and I'm wearing it was all very serendipitous the way this happened. A designer on Maui, she lent me a cool like a blazer.
I saw it. You look dapper.
Yeah, with like this Hawaiian motif. Nice. And then my wife said, we have to. You can't pack this all into a 30-second speech, so we got to represent. And so she called all over the place for a mailele. And because it's graduation season, in May, no maile anywhere. So she found one place in Hilo that said, "Oh, we still got one. You want it?" So they FedExed it over, and so here we are. And my wife had this beautiful Lahala hat on, and she's looking just absolutely wonderful. And we stroll into this into the the Hilton in San Francisco, and we look very different than anyone else. Most of there was Hawaii representation, and they all looked wonderful and represented well. But most people there are just TV people from the NorCal region. And I remember there was a guy, actually PBS Fresno. He comes up to us in the pre-party, where the red carpet is, and you take pictures and everything. And he's like, I don't even really want to be here, and I was already gonna leave, but I saw you guys, and I had to just meet you. And anyways, we're talking story with the guy, and then I was introduced to Pamela Young. I'd never met Pamela Young, your colleague from KHN. And I didn't know that she is a board member and a heavy hitter, but and so I was introduced, and I was really curious. I was trying to ascertain what are our chances of winning here. So I asked Pamela. I said, "So Pamela, what are the criteria for winning? Does it have anything to do with distribution, with viewership? How many eyeballs have seen this? What? Because if that's the case, then I think only maybe 500 to 1,000 people may have seen this little short film. So if that's the case, we're screwed, and it's going to be another rejection." She said, No, it has more to do with artistic merit and things like that. Oh, so like cinematography, lighting, story. Yeah, exactly. I said, wow, we might have a fighting shot here. And she's just like, maybe. And she just turned around and, joined her conversation again. And little did I know that she probably already knew, and she didn't want to give anything away. But I didn't suspect anything. These award shows, I know I'm going on and on. These award shows, like 3.5, 4 hours of just calling people up. And sorry, Hilton, but not the best banquet food ever. And I had to go pee 3 or 4 times, and we were the 7th to the last to be called up. Finally, it was about that time. I'm straightening out my Hawaiian motif blazer, getting ready, but I'm thinking, no, she's not gonna call it. And they call the two nominees, and they introduce, and then Pamela opens up the envelope and says, "Trilogy, it's in the heart, Pacific Storytellers." I couldn't believe it. And my wife, I could hear her. She had set up in the center with, capturing it on the iPhone. And she was yelling. And the guy from PBS, who we met earlier, I was telling you about, he was hooting and hollering. Yeah. And I was floored.
I actually seen this. Yeah. Okay. So, because I know Pamela was the presenter.
Yes.
So that's just beautiful right in there, right? Yeah. Serendipity. Yeah. But congratulations, man. That must have been a phenomenal honor. I want to wrap this up shortly, but I will tell you this, full transparency. I didn't judge your category. I have judged, though, Emmy, mainly in news, because I have also been a part of this process. And it is seriously competitive. Yeah. And you didn't just get that pretty monument and award just because you're a cool guy from Maui. You kicked some butt. You put Maui on the map in that way. And you also shared this beautiful family's story with the world. I'm going to put you on the spot here. I hope PBS Hawaii can talk with you about this. Maybe we can show it somehow, but we'll talk offline. But I just wanted to congratulate you. You are a fascinating story in itself. But for you to do this and accomplish this, kid from Frankfurt, moved to New York, traveled to the South Pacific, called Maui home, and today you're documenting stuff like this. That's life-changing. Congratulations.
Mahalo, Ron.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm getting really goosebumps. I want to have a cocktail with you and cheers.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But it's only 10:30.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay.
One last thing I want to share.
Yeah.
Ask rather, and then we can call it. We'll put a wrap on it. Obviously, Lahaina has suffered great losses, and there are opportunities to heal, continuing and recover, but still opportunities to tell quality stories of heroic actions of, not so much pointing fingers, and we don't want to be a part of that too in PBS Hawaii. We want to be solution-based and such. Do you see opportunities one day maybe to tell Lahaina's story? Did you ever thought about it?
Yes, actually. I was in Lahaina on August 8th last year, actually shooting a morning wedding. So, I did get out probably an hour before the fire sparked up again. But I remember, I remember the feeling, and it really felt like this was even before that second fire, sparked up. I remember having a heavy feeling. It was some kind of an apocalyptic feeling. It's really, really intense. And then when things started to evolve, it's a real visceral feeling. Not long after that, I connected with some people to potentially do a documentary, right? To obviously after sort of the immediate triage was taken care of and supplies were brought in, and people were stabilized in a way. Started connecting with some filmmakers too from here, and then a couple of others were brought into the orbit. Long story short, there were some political things there that ended up making the project not right for me. But there was a little bit of money involved, and that was brought, from what I understand, to filmmakers out on that side who were really in the thick of things, doing the work in the weeks and months and really year since then. So there are films being done. If somebody approached me and said, "Hey, we need a storytelling consultant. We need somebody to help us tell this story in a way that moves an audience," I would jump on it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. But it needs to happen in a way, in an organic way. Mm-hmm. I don't want to force myself onto anyone, any ahupua, or any descendants or anybody in a place. I need to be invited, and so if anybody wanted to invite me to help tell a story, I would be honored.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. You may have born in Frankfurt, Germany, and you may have spent your time but you're a local boy.
Oh,
that is the right frame of mind.
Oh,
You need the invitation, you need the permission to tell that story. And you're right. Maybe you're not the right person right now, but you could assist in that. Yeah. So mad respect for you just having that mindset. Oh. You're a good guy.
Thanks.
I knew that was the case. Us Germans, we got to stick together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stephan, for those at home or listening, he and I were talking about I'm a Schumacher, and you're a
Boeker.
Boeker.
I know, it's a mouthful.
Stein. Raise your Stein.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prost.
Yeah. Woo. From what I remember, Oktoberfest, what I was told, I had a hell of a time.
Where's the keg at PBS? Is that still coming, right?
That's after 5 o'clock for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, good luck to you. Continued success and continue making a difference in the community.
Oh, mahalo, Ron. It's been such a pleasure.
It was everything I thought it would be and a whole lot more. All right, mahalo nui, folks, for joining us. Ooh, that was a good one. Join us next week, another episode of What School You Went. Until then, ahui ho.
What School You Went is a PBS Hawaii production. Music by Taimane Gardner. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tell your friends. You can find us on pbshawaii.org and everywhere you get your podcasts.